Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my monthly video on the best games coming to retail. This is July 2023. And honestly, there's actually a little bit less games coming to retail than most months. I think because Gen Con is next month, there are so many releases at Gen Con, and then things will be hitting retail right after their Gen Con debuts, that July feels like a little bit like the calm before the storm, if you will. That being said, there's still a lot of great games coming to retail this month, and honestly, maybe it's a really good time for somebody to release something to retail because you don't have to compete with all of this stuff coming out at Gen Con. So I'm excited about a number of these games. I do this video every month and I run through about 25 of the best games coming to retail. There's going to be a lot of different types of stuff here. You know, there's strategy games, there's party games, there's family games, and everything in between. So I hope you find something you're excited about. Let's get into it. 25th Century Games is releasing the card game Splito. This is a very small box game and a lightweight card game, plays 3 to 8 players in 15 to 20 minutes. But one of the interesting things of the game is that you have to cooperate with other players to score points, but it is not a cooperative game. It is a competitive game. So you are playing cards in between the player to your right and the player to your left. And then you can either play number cards or you can play objective cards. And those number cards aren't really worth any points on their own. They have to fulfill objectives to be worth points. And so you are playing different things here, trying to score points, and whoever has the most between the two piles to their left and the right is going to win the game. So it's an interesting system where, you know, you want to be helping the person to your right, but you also want to screw them over when you can and go, okay, this person's doing really well, so I need to make this pile score points. I think that's a really interesting sounding thing, and I like card games, and so Splito is attractive to me. Uncama Games and Flat River Group is releasing Arkeis. This had a pretty big Kickstarter a while ago. I think this was on Kickstarter literally almost 4 years ago, and it is finally having its retail release now. So this is a cooperative, story-driven campaign game. And each scenario is going to have its own objectives that you have to accomplish in order to win cooperatively. If you like this is a game that has a bunch of miniatures that look really cool. So if you're a fan of miniatures, definitely check this out. I like the theme as well. You are set among the ancient Egyptian ruins, and you are exploring and adventuring, trying to uncover different treasure in the tombs. But there's also a push your luck aspect to the game where you can try to get more stuff, but you might end up cursed or you might end up injured, that sort of thing. So, you know, it's exploring. It's exploring tombs and finding goodies. It is a steampunk Egypt, though, so it's sort of a reimagining of ancient Egypt, and the artwork is really cool and the production value is really cool. So if you're a fan of cooperative campaign games, you might have already been anticipating this one for a long time. It's been a long time coming, and now you can finally get a copy of Arkeis. Ares Games is releasing a couple of games to retail this month. The first, I feel like I'm going to mess up how I pronounce this, but Cangaceiros? You know, one of the best things about the modern board game hobby to me is that all these different themes are represented. You can find a game for everything. And some themes, you can actually really learn some interesting facts about history because of the game you're playing. And that's one of the things that attracted me to Cangaceiros. This takes place in Brazil in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and Cangaceiros were bandits who opposed the status quo and the government and were sort of, you know, fighting for the people, but also, you know, getting money and you know, fighting against the establishment. And they were doing it in this area called the Sertão Desert, which is a very harsh climate. And so these people lived a hard life, but lived a life of their own choosing. And that's, you know, they were fighting against corruption and stuff. They're not people I've ever heard about before. And so it's interesting to read about it. I've learned a cool thing about history because of this game. It is a medium weight game, plays in 60 to 120 minutes for 2 to 5 players. And it's a competitive game where each player plays as a gang that is trying to survive in this hostile environment, and they are gaining fame by fighting against the establishment folks. They're called the Volantes. And you gain fame, and you're trying to retire in glory at the end of the game. And so moving around this board, fighting stuff, attacking stuff, and accumulating fame points. So that's Cangaceiros. You know, Ares Games is probably most well known for its war games. They have a lot of different war games, but they also release other games sometimes that, you know, maybe don't get as much of attention but should get more attention. So one of the games they're releasing right now is Ensemble, and this is not a big war game. This is a small box cooperative game, and it's already been out in Europe and other regions, but this is the first time it's going to be printed in North America. And so in the cooperative Ensemble, it plays 2 to 10 players. It's a party game where you are doing word association. There is a bunch of cards, and I guess you're not doing word association, you're doing like image association in this one. But you're associating things with other things. On the cards, there are certain images, and all of the players have to they have to vote for which image matches the one in the center of the table. And then if everybody's on the same page, you advance to the next level. And you are trying to advance 9 levels to win the game. So, you know, is a Christmas tree more like a pyramid, or is it more like a crocodile? That's up for your group to decide. And so there's no right answers. You are just trying to associate things with other things, but then predicting what everybody else on the table is doing. So yeah, I like cooperative games like that, party games where you are trying to get on the same page. Groupthink. I'm a real fan of groupthink. Real sheep over here, you know what I mean? If you like those types of games, those like word association, image association games, you got another option to choose from as well. That is Asmodee and Captain Games are releasing the party game 13 Words. And this is another sort of associating things with other things types of games. And so you could look at both this and Ensemble and choose which one speaks to you. So in 13 Words, there are a bunch of words around a sort of dial with a word in the middle. And so you are having to associate those words with the one in the middle, similar to we did with Ensemble. But in this scenario, instead of everybody having to match together, in 13 Words, one player is the active player. They're making an association, and you are trying to predict what they did. You are getting points if you predict the way they associated two things together. And so, yeah, and then the word that, you know, was just associated then becomes the word in the middle, and now you have a new set of words out there to try to figure out an association for. Asmodee and Format Games are releasing the party game Toodles. This is a drawing game. I'm a real fan of drawing party games, Monstrosity, Telestrations. There's a lot of really good ones. And in Toodles, the thing that makes this one different, it can be played both cooperatively or in teams. Cooperatively, you're playing against the game, and then in teams, you're playing against the other team. That's how teams work. So in this one, you are drawing something, but you are having two people are having to hold a pen at the same time and then try to draw something. You know, there's a little device that you put on the pen, and so then you're trying to figure out you're showing a word and then trying to draw that word, and but you and the other player are both going to have different ideas of how to draw it, and you're trying to get on the same page in the middle of an actual drawing, and so I'm sure laughter ensues. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of silliness with that game. And you don't have to be good at drawing, because I am not good at drawing. Boy, I'm a terrible drawer. So you want me to play a party game where I have to be good at drawing? That's a bad move, bro. That's bad on you. That's why Telestrations is great. I swear I'm trying, but it's awful when it gets back around. When it gets to me, you won't guess what it is. You won't guess what it is. But that just makes the game more fun, okay? I'm actually trying. That's just how bad at drawing I am. All right, next up we have Asmodee and Grail Games are releasing the game The Gardens. This is a tile land game, a card land game, a tableau building game. You are putting cards into your tableau and scoring points for different things, you know? You're building a garden. It is based on, the theme is, it's the Royal Botanical Gardens in Sydney, Australia, and you are building your own section of the garden. So you're going to score points for paths, you're going to score points for certain colored trees. There's a lot of different ways to score points in the game, and you will be drafting the cards you want to add to your tableau. So there will be cards out and you're drafting them, and it's one of those games that's like pretty simple and accessible, but is going to have a lot of replayability in the puzzle of it, the different ways that you can score points, the different cards that you're going to place down. It is it's still probably a lighter game, right? It's a 1 to 4 players, plays in 30 to 45 minutes. So if you're a fan of drafting or puzzle tableau building, then check out The Gardens. Asmodee and Jide are releasing the game Kingyo. This is a very family weight game, plays kids. If you're looking for a game to play with your kids, this is an option. It's very light, plays as young as 7, and plays in about 10 minutes. Plays 2 to 6 players. And the way it works is there are all these Kingyo cards left out, and Kingyo are goldfishes. And so you're going to roll dice and then all simultaneously try to grab fish that match the color of the dice that you just rolled. So it's almost like real-time Go Fish. You are literally going for fish and trying to get the right ones that match the die colors. And, it's simultaneous play, very quick, very easy. Something, kids love games that have energy, right? That have slapping, that have grabbing, that sort of stuff. And so this is a good one for kids, for sure. Asmodee and Jide are also releasing the game Kilim. This is also probably a lighter weight game, but maybe on the heavier end of lighter weight, which is a weird thing to say. Do you want a heavy light game? Maybe it's light medium. It's for you to decide. All right. It plays 2 to 5 players in 30 minutes. And in this game, the theme of it is you are weaving tapestries. And so the thing you create is very beautiful. The patterns look really striking and gorgeous. So that's one of the things that attracted me to the game. It's a tile laying game, sort of in the like King Domino style, where you have these tiles that are dominoes that are split in half. So each domino has a pattern on one side and a different pattern on the other side, and you are going to be placing them into your grid, into your tableau, and scoring points for how you place them in front of you. You are also, drafting them. There is a bidding mechanism to get the tiles. You will have cards, and you're going to play a card out, and then whoever has the highest card gets their first choice. But, after you play them, you can't use that card again that round. So you got to keep track of who's played what and try to get what you really want for your own tableau. And again, the tapestries, the carpets look really pretty at the end. The game happens over 3 rounds, so after you're done with a round, you pick your cards back up, and now you have a new set of cards, a full set of cards to use in the bidding for the next round. So if you like games like King Domino or stuff like that, I think you would probably like Kilim. Capstone Games is releasing the game Wandering Towers. This is a game that has had a lot of hype for, the better part of a year. It came out at Essen in German last year and got a lot of notice, but this is its first time being released in English in North America. So it's it's also a lighter strategic game, but it's got really cool production value. It looks really great on the table. There are a bunch of these towers, and they kind of go into a circle in front of this keep, and you are trying to get your wizards into the keep. And you can play cards, and a lot of cards will have simultaneous, they'll have, you can choose between 2 things. You can either move your wizard, or you can move a whole tower set. And one of the interesting things is you can place a tower on top of another tower and even trap wizards underneath the tower. There's space to trap a wizard, and when you trap a wizard, you can gain benefits like potions and stuff like that. You'll be playing potion cards to do extra actions and special benefits and abilities, and so you're moving your wizards around trying to get everything into the Raven's Keep, and then also trying to screw over other people. You want to mess them up and trap their wizards and stuff. So it's really fun, looks really cool on the table. This is like one of those ones that anybody walking by would be like, whoa, what's that? I want to check that out, So, and everybody I've talked to a bunch of people that have played the game, and everybody I've talked to has really liked it. It is, decently light. It plays in 30 minutes for 2 to 6 players. But if you want just like a fun, light game, Wandering Towers from Capstone, I think would be a good one for you. Devere Games is releasing a couple of small box games. So Devere is fairly well known for some of their bigger games, like Bitoku and stuff like that. But a couple of years ago, they started doing this small box line, and they are mostly card games. They've had some in the line that I've really loved. Winter, Ouch. Those were both great games that I was real into. So both of these games are in that sort of small box card game line. One of them is Yokai Sketch. This is in the game, it's a two-player only game, 2-player head-to-head card game. There are going to be different regions, and you are playing cards to match the region. And each region is going to have a point value in it. And when enough cards have been played to match that point value, whoever has more cards there is going to win that point card. But there's, a couple of special abilities where you can move things around. You can steal something from your opponent. You can play 1 to 3 cards on your turn. So sometimes you might go, boom, boom, boom. I captured the region. I captured this card. And so it's set collection because, you need the amount of cards to get the one in the middle that's going to score you points. But if you like head-to-head card battle games, a lot of head-to-head card battle games are pretty high fantasy, pretty, that type of theme. This is a much different one. You are completing a set of cards of one type of yokai to claim the points on it. Children who go into the forest may come across some yokai, supernatural creatures and phenomena. So, not that sort of high fantasy 2-player head-to-head card game, but, more of like a pretty beautiful one. So, yeah, check that out. Yokai Sketch. The other game that Devere Games is releasing this month is Blind Business. This is 2 to 5 players, 15 to 30 minutes. And in this game, you will have cards in your hand. You get to see them initially, but then you have to shuffle them up and then place them, hold them, looking out. So you can't see where the cards that you have are in your hand. You don't know what is what. Sort of like Hanabi style, right? Where you can't You don't have all the information. And someone else can request a card from your hand. You can either say, sure, take that card, or you can say no, and both players, whenever somebody requests a card, both players will end up with a new card in their display, a new card in front of them. But it just depends on how you're going to do that. You know, you can, if you refuse to hand it over, then you get to put it down, and so you're hoping that something they're requesting is something that you also want. You say no, it goes down in front of you, or you say yes, and in that case, you get to ask for a card from their hand, and then they can say yes or no. So there's like a little bit of negotiation going on in it, and you're going to score points based on having set collection stuff. You're going to have columns with colors, and those colors are going to correspond to the 4 zones in which the city is divided: the playground, the boardwalk, the central station, and downtown. Basically suits of cards. And at the end of the game, depending on majorities, players earn points based on their card combinations. So you're just trying to get what you want in front of you and not let other people get what they want in front of them, but you don't have all the information to do it. Dolphin Hat Games is releasing the game 800 Pound Gorilla, and this is always a weird one for me to see because many of you might know that I am a comedian, and 800 Pound Gorilla is also the name of my label that my last album came out on. So 800 Pound Gorilla is a game and a great Grant Lyon comedy album. So if you want to listen to my album and you've never done that before, you should look it up. It's called Scheduled Fun Time. It hit #1 on the iTunes comedy charts in 2020, and it's pretty funny, and it's an hour of great stand-up comedy. But right now you're here for the game, so, you know, self-plug over. Let's get into the game, 800 Pound Gorilla. This is also like a family weight, a kids game. That is very much about that energy and the action. Plays 3 to 6 players. There's a big spinner, and you're going to give this thing a spin, and then depending on what it lands on, you're going to do something. You're going to grab bananas. You're going to grab coconuts. There's a bunch of gorilla cards that are spread out, and it might say, find the largest gorilla, and so you are just eyeballing the different gorillas out here, trying to look at which one takes up the most space on the card. That's the largest one. Flip it over. Are you right? Then you get points. And so, you know, it's just, again, kids like those energetic games, and I've watched kids playing this one at some conventions, and they always seem like they're having a really great time. So this is from the same people that did Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, so they know how to do those family weight games that appeal to casual folks and non-gamers and stuff. So I think 800 Pound Gorilla sort of fits into that same world. Funko Games is releasing Avatar: The Last Airbender, Crossroads of Destiny. This is a cooperative game set in the Avatar world. If you like the Avatar IP, this very much is that. You're playing as Team Avatar with all the characters that you know from the various IP stuff, the comics and the cartoons, and a lot of Avatar stuff out there. In this game, the game contains 15 narrative encounters and 12 replayable combat challenges inspired by the world of Avatar. So you can jump to any challenge, or you can play through a multi-game campaign, and you are just working together to finish the mission and accomplish your task, you know? It's 2 to 4 players, plays in about 45 minutes. I'm assuming that means each scenario plays in 45 minutes. I don't think you can play all 27 of them in 45 minutes. That would be way too easy if you were like, oh, we did this one thing and we won. Okay, that's not a satisfying game. Don't make that game. You want to do one where 45 minutes per encounter here. So check that. If you're a fan of Avatar, check out Avatar: The Last Airbender, Crossroads of Destiny. Grand Gamers Guild is releasing the Turkey Trial. This is part of their Holiday Hijinks series of little escape room card games. This is number 7 in the series, and they all have some type of holiday theme. There's a Christmas one and a 4th of July one and a birthday one and a lot of different stuff. But one of the nice things about them, they are very small, puzzly escape room style games. They come in boxes literally that fit in your pocket, and they're always like 18 cards, and you are just solving puzzles to cooperatively work through the story and figure out the mystery. They play in about an hour, and one of the nice things is you never destroy anything in the game, so you can easily give this away. It's a great type of stocking stuffer or little birthday gift or something like that. I haven't played all of them in the series, but I've played 3 or 4 of them, and they're usually sort of, they're a challenge, but they're not too crazy hard, right? You're not gonna be mad at the game because you can't figure anything out. You get a couple of people together, you get 3, 4 people together, and it's fun to sort of cooperatively figure it out together. And they're real cheap because they're very small and just 18 cards. So they really work for like a family activity for that specific holiday. This one's obviously about Thanksgiving. So if you plan to get together with your family on Thanksgiving this year, it's fun to bring this and go, hey, we're waiting around for the food. Let's play this for the next hour and we can all do it together. And figure out this story, and the story's always very thematic and fun. So yeah, I think it's a good family activity. Grand Gamers Guild is also releasing the Artemis Odyssey. This is a standalone sequel to the Artemis Project, and the Artemis Project was a game I loved. It came out maybe like 4 years ago, and it's a game I really loved. It was a pretty cutthroat game. It is a dice placement game, worker placement game with dice, and you are getting resources, but there's a real gamble in the game where the dice you put down, the higher the number dice, the more resources you get, but the later in turn order you get them. So if people put lower dice there, they can cut you out. Well, the Artemis Odyssey has different mechanisms. It doesn't play the same way, but it's sort of set in the same world as the Artemis Project, but many generations later. So this is a space theme, this is an exploration theme. The thing that makes this game really interesting is it's got this system of hidden planning on a shared board. So there is a board, and you are playing action cards into spaces on this board, but you're playing them face down, so you don't know what other people are playing before you. And then you reveal them in order of left to right. And so things might change before you get to your action card. So there's this push and pull of do I want to place it early? Do I want to place it later? Because maybe this card will be better if something changes. And so, most of the time in games, right, you're playing action cards in front of you and just dealing with yourself. I like the idea of this shared action board, and you don't know what other people are playing. That makes it intriguing, where I'm like, okay, I think they're going to do this, so if they're going to do that, then I should do this. And so you're constantly thinking about what the other person does. I also am a sucker for space-themed games, so I'm excited for it for that reason as well. Hachette and Randolph are releasing the game Miller Zoo. This is a very lightweight family game. I don't think I actually said the Artemis Odyssey is more of a high medium weight game. It plays 1 to 5 players in 90 minutes. Okay, back to Miller Zoo. This is a family weight game. Plays 1 to 6 players in 30 minutes. And Miller Zoo is an actual real zoo in Canada. It is themed around this actual zoo, and you are trying to, manage the zoo. You are trying to make sure the zoo does all right and make it one of the most interesting zoos in Canada. There is a legacy element to the game in that you will be placing some stickers and changing the board around, but it's very light. The legacy element doesn't change the game a lot. It's not something that will be too much for kids to handle. And in fact, one of the things I've heard about this game is that it is pretty easy, even for kids. You're gonna open some envelopes and release some more content, and the first 2 or 3 of the envelopes are really easy and don't present much of a challenge even for kids. And so as you get later, then the game becomes more interesting as you release more content for it. So, you know, you'll be taking care of the zoo's animals that you already have. You'll be recruiting new animals into your zoo. So if you want a real light legacy game that you can play with an 8-year-old, then Miller Zoo is a good option for you. On the complete other end of the spectrum, Rollacrit is releasing Heroes of Barcadia, and this is an adult game. This is a 21 plus game because the main gimmick of the game is that you have glasses and you have a liquid health system in the game. It is clearly designed to be for beer and alcoholic beverages, but you do not have to play it with those. You can play it with water, you can play it with any liquid that you want. And your glasses are going to have these, lines on them, and so when you take damage, you have to drink that much of your drink to lower your health. And it's it's a dumb, silly thing, but it is a very fun, unique thing as well. This is a game where you are going to be moving your glasses around. It's sort of like a dungeon crawly type of game, but very light, very silly. And you are moving around and revealing tiles, and the tiles will have different bad guys to fight or different special abilities that you can get. And you're rolling a d20 to try to hit the bad guy. It is not a cooperative game, though. You are trying to beat the big bad at some point, and so you have to explore to reveal the tile of the big bad, and then try to level up so that you can go over and fight them and defeat the monster. So you need power-up cards to do it. It's 2 to 6 players, plays in 30 to 90 minutes. The cards have a ton of puns on them. It's real dumb, but it is funny. So if you're a fan of puns, that's a reason to get this game alone for sure. Third World Studios is releasing a couple of games into retail this month. The first of which I'll talk about is Mission Control Critical Orbit. So this is a game with a lot of different stuff mixed into it. It is an asymmetric, cooperative, roll and write, real-time game. So yes, it sounds crazy, but I've had a chance to play this one once and it works. It's a really interesting, unique game for sure. You set a 20-minute clock, and so every game of this plays in 20 minutes because if you don't finish it in 20 minutes, you lose. And so one player plays as this sort of captain, and everybody else is assisting them. But each player is doing a different thing. Each player is doing a different task in order to help the spaceship. The captain is having to place down polyomino tiles and make connections with these wires, but they can't place down a bunch of stuff unless the other people are doing what they need to do to help the captain. So the other players are... The captain's rolling a set of dice, and the other players are using the numbers to either fill in grid squares or tick off these other things. Basically, all different puzzly type of stuff. You are doing different, writing, roll and write sort of activities to maximize what you can do on your turn. You can get special benefits, you can help each other out, but you're all doing a different thing in order to help the captain. I guess it's called the flight commander in this one. The captain is in a boat, you're in a spaceship. There's no captains here. And so, you definitely want the most experienced player to be the commander, at least the first time you play, but then you can switch up roles and everybody will have a different thing to do. Now, certainly a game that's played best at 4 players because there are 4 roles, and having to only focus on one thing is probably a nice thing for at least the first few times you play. But you can play it with 2 and 3, and there's a way to play it with 3 as well. It's figure it out. Save your ship, save your spaceship, and don't let it You're trying to like Apollo 13 this. You got to figure it out. You're up there. You're up there and you got to do it because there's nobody going to help you. You're in space, dude. The other game that they are releasing this month is The Stuff of Legend. This is a 3 to 6 player game, takes place in 60 to 120 minutes, and it's a medium weight game. It is a hidden role game, but it is a much more strategic hidden role game than you are used to. It's not a social deduction, it's not a party game at all. There is a big board, and you are going to be moving around the board, exploring stuff, sort of going on missions, trying to find different things that you need. You're trying to find different exits. I really love the theme of this game. It's based on a graphic novel series, and you are essentially the boogeyman has come out of the closet and grabbed the little boy and pulled him into the world of darkness. And you play as his toys that have gone into the closet to save the little boy, and now they've turned into, they're not just a teddy bear sitting on a bed, now they are a real bear that's going around and trying to help the little boy. The reason there are hidden roles is because most players are loyal to the boy and are trying to get the boy and get him to an exit before the game ends, but 1 or 2 players, based on player count, are going to be loyal to the boogeyman. They don't like the boy. The boy has ignored them. They are a salty toy that wants revenge on the boy, and so they don't want to help. And so you're going to be moving around the board doing different stuff, and there's constant votes in the game. You are always voting to let people move certain places and do certain things. And so, in your voting, you're trying to figure out who is the traitor here, who is not loyal to the boy. And so, I really like the idea of it. There's some really cool miniatures in the game as well that look very, very striking. I love the theme, and I love a hidden role game, but sometimes you want something a little more meaty than a party game, and so this is a hidden role game that has that strategic element to it. Strategery. This game has strategery. The Op is releasing a couple of games this month, both lighter weight games. We've got What the Cup, plays 3 to 6 players in 10 to 20 minutes. This is a party game, a social bluffing game. You all have, it looks cool on the table, it's got really interesting production value. You have these cups, and you will have dice under the cups and a little dice holder under the cup. And so you're going to shake it up, and then only you get to see what value is on your dice under your cup. And then you're going to be playing cards to manipulate your dice, to manipulate the dice of everybody around you. And every round, you want either the highest or the lowest value on your dice by the end of the round. And so that can even be flipped mid-round. You can even, you thought we were going for the highest, now we're going for the lowest, I win, that sort of stuff. So I love games, I love party games like this where you have to constantly think about what everybody else is doing. You have to try to outsmart other people. I'm not a liar in real life, so I love lying in games. Ooh, ha ha ha. It's the time I can be my own true dark self. My mom wouldn't let me lie, but she did let me play games, and I can lie in them. The other game that the Op is releasing is Mish Match. I can't even say this. So it's not Mish Match, it's not Mismatch, it is Mish Match. Haha, I got it. It took a minute. Boy, talk about a tongue twister. A Mish Match. You try it. You try it at home right now. See if you can do better than me. You probably can, but it's not easy. Mish Match is a 2 to 8 player, 10 to 20 minute game that is a family weight game. This is a slapping game where you are trying to slap and take cards. The cards are going to have a variety of animals, colors, foods, moods on them. So anytime you see a match, you can slap and take the cards there. Animals that have hats can always be slapped. So I love hats. I'm always wearing a hat. So if you see an animal with a cute little hat on its head, you slap it. Not in real life. Don't do that. If you see a little dog wearing a hat, don't you slap that dog. But you can do it in this game. This is your opportunity to slap a little hatted animal, you know? WizKids is releasing a couple of games to retail this month as well. We have SiliconVania. This is a 2 to 5 player game, plays in 45 to 90 minutes. And this is a sort of city planning game with a very silly, fun theme. You are a new city planner that is trying to turn Transylvania, the most legendary vampire town in the world, into the world's newest tech haven. And so there is a lot of bidding in this game. You are bidding for various different stuff. You are bidding for tiles that you are going to add to your area, to your grid. You're trying to build out a city with these tiles. You can also bid, you can bid a specialist card, and that specialist card will have a special ability on it and will also help you recruit a new specialist card. And so there are a lot of different ways to bid, a lot of different things to bid on in this game. And you know, the way you arrange your grid, the way you arrange your tiles is going to score you points in different ways. The game ends after 8 rounds, so it, you know, it moves pretty quickly. It's there's got a lot of action in it because of the simultaneous bidding and stuff. So yeah, I love you know, grid. I love grid games. I love bidding games, and so I love the theme of this. And there's a lot of different ways to score points. The vampires want to make sure all this technological advancement doesn't destroy the biodiversity of their home. So you get points for having a variety of animals and animal meeples on your tiles. Thanks, vampires. You know, most of us think that you're monsters, but you know, you're trying to protect the critters. And I appreciate that about you in this game, vampires. The last game I'm going to talk about here is Blob Party from WizKids, and this is a 4 to 8 player party game, but really it's just component limited, and I honestly wish they had more components in the game, because I played this game, I was playing this at Origins Game Fair late at night a bunch. We played it with like 15 people, we played it with like 19 people, and as long as you have writing utensils and something to write on, you can play this game with as many people as you want, and it's really fun with a big group of people. You reveal 2 cards, and then everybody writes down a 1-word response to those 2 cards. How do those 2 cards inspire you? You know, what? Maybe it's fictional pet. Okay, what's a fictional pet that you think about? And then anybody who wrote down the same answer then becomes part of a blob together, and now they have to collectively come up with an answer in future turns. When you are in a blob, you all think together. You all only have one response. And the goal of the game is to get everybody into the blob by the end of the game. And so it's just really fun. It's one of those social party games where there's a lot of trash talking. Somebody writes something and you're like, what? That's what you think of when you think of this? How dare you? Get on my page. And they're like, how dare you? I'm right. You're writing dumb stuff down. And so I love the social aspect of it. This is a game that I feel like will be one of my go-to recommendations for big group games. You know, you've got 15, 20 people, play Blob Party for sure. So that's what I've got for you this month. Those are the best games coming to retail in July. I do this video every month. I also do a best expansions and new additions coming to retail every month video. It usually comes out a week or so after this one. So if you like expansions or you like updated editions, there's actually a lot of, I originally started that video just as like just the expansions, but there's so many good new additions coming out for games that, you know, are 20, 30 years old, and now there's some rule changes and some updated art, and they've made them cool again. There's a lot of those, so I include both the expansions and new additions in that video. So check that out coming up soon. Thank you so much for sharing this video. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you want to support this video series and me as a creator, you can always check out my Patreon, Grant's Game Rex. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Hope you found something that you liked here. I will be at Gen Con, and then I will also be at the World Series of Board Gaming. So if you are going to be at either of those and you see me, say hello. You know, I always love meeting people out there. And in fact, actually, at the World Series of Board Gaming, I will be doing my comedy show there. I wrote a whole hour of stand-up all about board games, and I do it at conventions and stuff like that. So you have an opportunity to see that at the World Series of Board Gaming. I have a discount code that if you want to go to the World Series of Board Gaming, use that code and you can get a bunch of money off on a ticket. I will put that information in the description of the video so you can easily find it there. Thanks again for being here. Happy gaming to y'all. Hope you found something you like. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.